Welcome into the Daily Bible Verse Podcast. My name's Jonny Gaston. I'm so glad you're here. The Bible verse of the day is Proverbs chapter 9, verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Let's put this verse back in its context and find it right there in Proverbs chapter 9. Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly both call out to the simple, inviting them into their houses. Right in the middle of this vivid contrast, verse number 10 drops a foundational truth like a plumb line. True wisdom doesn't begin with intelligence, education, experience, or even morality. It begins with a right relationship with God. The quote, fear of the Lord isn't terror, but reverent awe that acknowledges His holiness, authority, and glory. This verse reveals that all real insight flows from knowing the Holy One personally. In a world-chasing self-help wisdom and clever hacks, Proverbs insist, without God at the center, what you call wisdom is just sophisticated foolishness. I'm going to offer a phrase-by-phrase breakdown in just a moment. But first, imagine trying to navigate the vast ocean without a compass or GPS. You might have impressive maps, years of sailing experience, or the best boat money can buy. But if your compass is miscalibrated, or you refuse to acknowledge true north, you will eventually sail in circles or crash into the rocks no matter how confident you feel. The fear of the Lord is your true north. It's the calibration of your soul's compass to the only fixed point in the universe, God. Once you align your heart in reverent awe and begin truly knowing Him, everything else, decisions, relationships, ambitions, trials, it starts pointing in the right direction. Here's the breakdown. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. The word beginning in the Hebrew, Shayath, means starting point, first principle, or chief part, not just the entry-level class, but the essential foundation everything else rests upon. Fear of the Lord is a heart posture of deep respect, humility, and submission before God's majesty. It's the moment you stop treating God casually and recognize He's not your buddy, or genie, or debate opponent. This reverent fear is where wisdom ignites. The next phrase, and the knowledge of the holy. This isn't academic knowledge about God. It's intimate, relational. It's knowing. The holy refers to the Holy One Himself. The more you truly know God's character, His purity, justice, mercy, and sovereignty, as well as all the attributes of God, the more your perspective on life is recalibrated. This is so very important because what you believe about God will govern your steps or govern your actions. The last phrase is understanding. Understanding means discernment, insight, and the ability to apply knowledge rightly. It's not just knowing the facts, but grasping how it works in light of who God is. This is the fruit of fearing and knowing Him. Proverbs 9:10 declares that all genuine wisdom and understanding are rooted in a reverent fear of God and intimate knowledge of His holiness. Without this foundation, every other form of, quote, wisdom is built on sand. With it, life's complexities begin to make sense. You know, my father is a master gardener, and he's also been a lawn care and landscape provider for as long as I can remember, and he still is today in his 70s. And when I was a young boy, maybe 9 or 10 years old, I was enamored by the fact that he was going to allow me to get on the zero-turn lawnmower and cut the yard. And so my dad was giving me some instruction, but instead of listening to him, I was so fixated and focused on the lawnmower itself and just the fact that I get to do this. My dad had gotten Yard of the Month many times, and one of the things that made it so impressive as you looked at the yards that he would produce, not only the landscape itself, but also just the straight lines in the yard. And so I thought I could do that, no problem, right? I know everything at 10 years old. That's what they think, right? But I cut it, and I remember how it bowed out, how my line, in my mind, I was going as straight as I possibly could. I didn't move the lever at all. I was going straight, but I looked back and it was crooked. It was not a straight line. It was very bowed out. And so anyway, I turned around and amazement. I'm like, how did this happen? How did I get so far off? It just doesn't make sense. I didn't even turn at all. And my dad, laughed and said, "Hey, look, if you want to be straight, you got to fix your eyes." He said it again to me. Fix your eyes on something. And then he told me, "Look, you see that fence post down there?" He said, "I want you to fix your eyes on that fence post right there. And then I want you to cut. Do not take your eye off that fence post. And you align that fence post with your left tire or your right tire. And you just go. Do not take your eye off. That's the plumb line. You take your eye and you fixate it on that one point, and then let's see what happens." And so I did that. I followed his instruction. I fixated upon that fence post, and when I turned around, it was the straightest line, just like his. And so that taught me something much later on in my faith journey. Here's a good question. Are you still trying to navigate life by your own wisdom, or have you let the fear of the Lord reset your internal compass? I thought about how I'd spoken to a pastor's wife one time, and she was talking about what she did and did not do after she became a Christian. And she spoke about how she feared God. And she kept saying that. She kept coming back to the fact that the reason why she doesn't go here and doesn't do that, and some of the things that she keeps as a guardrail in her life, is because the fear of the Lord. And I thought about that for a moment, and how the wisdom flowed from her acknowledgement of who God is, of His character, His attributes, and what He requires of her. It's just amazing as I have gone through the years. I've been a Christian now for 26 years, and I've taught the Bible a lot of those years. And I remember that as I began to gain more of an understanding of who God is and acknowledge His holiness, His sovereignty, even the thought of His omniscience, it will put you in a reverent fear of God. Because why? Because He's not like me. His ways are higher than my ways. His thoughts are higher than my thoughts. As I was listening to a great apologist defend the faith and the existence of God, those types of things in a debate, he was talking about how when God created the universe and everything that we know and that we don't know, he talks about how if God is something that we could put into a test tube, or that we could, in a rational way understand and acknowledge logically all that God is and do all this in our 3-pound brain, he said that God would not be worth worshiping. That's for certain. In conclusion, in Proverbs chapter 3, simply says, "Lean not on your own understanding, but acknowledge Him, and He will make your path straight."
Welcome to the Daily Bible Podcast. Follow and subscribe on your favorite platform. Brewing up